Hey everyone, I hope you all are having a good week. It's Emily, the Career Catalyst. I'm having kind of a weird week, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about that and some good tips for how to handle a weird week, because I think we're all having a lot of them these days. And so my weird week is a lot of it is that my poor little dog Rose has had to have a feeding tube inserted, and she came through the surgery like a champ. She's doing really well. But since then, it's a surgery, and so she's had a couple of post-op bouts where she's had to go in and get some IV fluids. And so that's been kind of an ongoing process. She had some weird buildup in her liver, so she's just getting that all flushed out. She's at the vet for what we hope is the last time in a while. Today, I get to go pick her up in a few hours, but it's definitely made my week really weird. And it's made me feel kind of unfocused and not really able to really concentrate on my work as well as possible. And a lot of that is just because everything is so strange and so up in the air these days that it's just hard. Everything feels weird and hard. And I've not been metabolizing that stuff nearly as well as I could be otherwise. And so I just wanted to check in and see if everyone else is feeling that way, and maybe give you some tips on kind of how to manage that and how to handle the stresses of daily life a little bit better. So the first thing, of course, is that I really still encourage everyone to keep practicing really good self-care. And a lot of this is the stuff that we just always know about, right? It's stuff like eating really well, which means getting your fruits and your veggies and your whole grains, really kind of paying attention to that. Getting enough sleep and getting some kind of exercise. And as I've been going through all of this stuff with Rose, I've definitely noticed that I'm getting kind of less of the strenuous exercise than I normally do. And that just has felt really warranted in this situation. But I've been doing a lot of walking and I've been trying to do some gentle stretching and things like that. And so your exercise doesn't necessarily have to be super vigorous all the time. Although I think that has a certain kind of appeal and release to it. I'm excited for the point where I can kind of get back into my kickboxing routine. But, the point is make it feel good, make it feel like you. So the other thing is that sometimes when we're kind of really stressed out, what we find is that we need to do what I call acute self-care. And that's the stuff I talk about often where it's sort of, I'm going to flake out on the couch all day, or I'm going to read an entire novel all in one sitting, or I'm going to have something really terrible for me for dinner. My go-to is usually French fries, but it's kind of whatever feels really good for you. And the thing is, these are really very healthy, very good ways to kind of get through difficult times. But of course, you don't want to do them very often. And that's where they're acute self-care. So if you need to have a day where you just make no promises to anyone, you just kind of flop out, you really just get nothing real accomplished, I really encourage it. But I wouldn't want you to do very many of those because they do kind of snowball if you get into a pattern of them. And that can kind of lead to depression and other undesirable things like that. But they're often just good for a one-off. So definitely think about that. The other things that you can do to kind of manage your stress are some of the kind of basics. Again, you probably know about them. I really enjoy some mindfulness. I like some free apps that are out there. And I know it sounds a tiny bit woo-woo, but there's some really great stuff out there. And the thing about mindfulness is that it's just kind of getting into a pattern of just calming yourself down and focusing and breathing. So I use one called Oak, which is free for iOS. There are plenty of free options if you have Android phones instead, but just kind of play around with it and see what you can find out there. I'm not a huge believer in having to pay for those things. It just seems like it's an additional burden when everything feels kind of burdensome right now. So look for a free one and see how you like it. The paid ones are nice just because they have a whole bunch of different options. But if you're a novice in the mindfulness world, you're not going to need 87,000 options. You're going to need one or two, and that should be plenty for you. So check those out and see. The other thing I really like is something called EFT. It means either emotional freedom technique or emotional freedom tapping, depends on who you're asking. And it may not work for you. It certainly doesn't work for everyone, but I like it for a couple of reasons. One is that it's free, and one is that it's completely free of side effects. So really all it is some rhythmic tapping with just some kind of dialogue, and not even dialogue. It's kind of a mantra that you say as you're doing the tapping. And you can find it online. There's loads and loads of resources. So you start tapping kind of on your face, and there's some strategic points on your face that you tap. And then there's a collarbone one, and there's an option for kind of under your rib cage. And then there's also a wrist one. And so look it up. It's nice just because it's easy to do. It's really easy to master. And so as you're tapping these various points and you go through it a few times, you're just saying something that feels really comforting. So you say, I'm going to get a job that I really enjoy, or you say, you know, my money is going to be fine, or you say, I'm going to get that contract. Whatever is the thing that's kind of causing your anxiety, you put it in its positive spin, and you say that as you do the rhythmic tapping. Again, it might not work for you. It's a tiny bit woo-woo, but it's also free, and I would recommend that you try it a few times before you give it up. I've been having some sleep troubles just because everything is so weird and stressful these days, and my normal outlets are either not options at all or just look so different that they just kind of continue my sensations of stress. So I'm certainly having some anxiety, as I suspect a lot of you are as well. And so I've been using the EFT stuff when I'm trying to fall back asleep, because I just keep waking up at like 3 in the morning. And there's just not a whole lot of decision making you can do at 3 in the morning. So check it out. Let me know what you think. And definitely let me know if you have any questions. And I hope you all have some good relaxation planned for your weekend. See you next time.